SDSU this year was way up at the top of the screen, right? And then there was probably NDSU and Montana, maybe one others that were like this far below them, still a wide gap. And then the rest of the FCS way below. I just think that what NDSU is going to bring back and what SDSU is going to lose a little bit is going to make them get more on an even playing field.
Welcome to the official podcast of FCS Fans Nation with your hosts Kyler Neal, Matthew Frazee, and Jamie Williams.
FCS Fans Nation, welcome back home from Texas and welcome into the season finale. Happy yet sad moment here on the FCS Fans Nation podcast. The OGs taking you out for season 7. I never thought I'd say that in a million years. Jamie Williams, Kyler Neal, the heel, Matthew Frazee, coming in hot for you guys one final time to close out the 2023 FCS season. We are hangover cured. We are well rested up from our travels down south to the amazing state of Texas. And we are coming through your airwaves. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Thank you again to our sponsors, as always. Walk On Apparel versus Sports Simulator. Jamie, you're looking a little howdy there, buddy. Got the cowboy hat rolling. A little bit of a FCS fan radio action shirt going on. Are you recovered from Frisco? Are you ready to break down this game and look into a new season?
I am ready. I tell you what, that was a long week at work, though. After being gone for almost 2 full weeks, it was tough getting back, but well worth it. Good time in Florida. Great time with you guys as always. Love being in Frisco, and I think Rev said it gets better every year. I definitely agree with that. This was one of the best trips out there. Enjoyed everything we were able to do, especially proving that at mid-30s up into our early 40s that we are indeed still better than D1 athletes.
We are better than D1 athletes. At the local where Mr. Seth Meyer handed me this beautiful Jackrabbit hat. Thank you, Seth. I've been saying to Jackrabbit fans for years, I'll wear your gear because you're not the true rival. That is UND. So Seth Meyer, shout out to you. Great to see you in person. But at the local, Jamie just mentioned beating D1 athletes. Kyler, for the folks who didn't see it on Twitter, didn't see the Alex Lemonade charity event we were part of, before we get into the Big 7 tonight, why don't you talk a little bit about that in Frisco, my man?
Man, that was a cool little charity event that was FCS Nation. You know, the radio, Kevin over there, he's been working with these guys in this charity, raising money for cancer, children's cancer. I believe that's exactly what it is. But they had quite a bit of FCS athletes all around the nation who were raising money to try and figure out who was the top dog, basically, who could raise the most money. So the 4 people who got to go, there was, who was it? South Dakota's quarterback. He was a beast. He ended up actually winning it. He raised, almost 20,000 by himself or some ridiculous number. I think they raised about 45,000 total, which was awesome. Then we had Saluka. That was cool. He was a cool guy to talk to.
That's awesome.
Yep. We had SLU's quarterback. He was the more quiet guy. He didn't really say much. And then we had my boy F.D. Chisholm. Yeah, there we go. Oh, here's the game. So there was 4 teams, which was kind of cool for this little charity event at the local, the SDSU bar. So, of course, they paired us against, the Division I athletes for 2 games in a row, and we crushed them. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it wasn't even close. Matt was trying to lose it for us. Chris was trying to lose it for us, but they couldn't do it. We were just too dang good. We threw it back in their face. I mean, look at Efton. He was into it, and I had to defeat the little guy. So I apologize, buddy. But overall, it was a great time. We were the underdogs, as Brendan said. He said, your guys' odds are 10,000 to 1. So we went from 0 to the first real fast, man. So it was a good time.
Yeah, it was awesome. Not only did we hit Montana bars and South Dakota State bars, we also we had the opportunity to do this charity event We swung some Top Golf, Taco King.
Efton was before me? I had to come back?
He started off.
He had the lead.
If you guys aren't watching on YouTube right now, you're seeing live footage of the charity event where we competed against these athletes to help raise money for children's cancer. It was a pretty great thing. Some of the fun stuff we get to do. You're about to see Kyler Neal's victory moves here. I believe.
Poor guy.
Look at this.
Poor guy. He was such a good guy. But so it was an extremely fun time to do something a little bit different for a great cause that didn't also make me hate children. This was a good one. I'm always for these type of charity events. I'm not for tattooing ever again. So this was fun. Yeah, it was a really good time. We're going to get a little bit more into Frisco and some of the fun activities when we get to quick hits, I believe. But folks are probably more curious about the game breakdown and already looking ahead to 2024. So let's get into some reaction to that game with the Big Seven.
The top 7 FCS topics of the week. This is the Big 7.
Gentlemen, the final Big 7. A few combo questions put together here, starting with Mr. Jordan Thule and Steve White here. They're going to make it really simple. Obviously, we saw the game. It ended with an unbelievable season for South Dakota State. Who would have ever predicted 15-0? Who would have ever predicted a championship this year for them? But Jordan did say, who were your MVPs of the game not named Mark Gronowski? And Steve White said, historically, where does the Jacks defense rate? Two good questions to get us kicked off right off the bat. I will let you know this. It is interesting about the Jacks defense. I think I almost was quietly unaware of how great they were being historically. When you look at them, SDSU held their playoff opponents to 0, 12, 0, and 3 points. That is a whopping 9.27 points per game this season. That's the overall season rate. But for playoffs, they gave up 15 points. And it's the best the FCS has had since 2003 Monmouth for points given up per season. Monmouth gave up 8.5 points per game. Another interesting fun fact about their defense, they faced 3 QBs who were going to play in the FBS next year. Tommy Schuster going to Michigan State from UND, Reese Poffenbarger going off from Albany to Miami, and then, of course, McDowell is likely to go up there from Montana. So impressive. In terms of the historical context, it's one of the best we've ever seen in the FCS. Steering away from the defense, though, unless you guys want to jump into it more, I am interested about MVPs of the game not named Mark Gronowski. We were talking about this leaving the stadium. We're like, hey, it's probably him. Even they had announced it, but we're like, who else are you going to pick? He had 2 of the 3 touchdowns, if there was 3. What do you think, Kyler? Who is your MVPs of the game besides Mr. Gronowski?
This is one of those only times where probably no one deserved MVP of the game, but they should have just given it to the whole defensive line from South Dakota State. I mean, I get it. You're not supposed to do that. It is what it is, but no one really overall impressed me on either roster in terms of just singular play. You know, the Yankees had a couple great catches. Gronowski had a couple good plays, but he wasn't overly impressive either, in my opinion. But the defensive line, they completely shut down Montana. They rushed for 30 yards, 40 yards. They got in McDowell's face. I mean, they made him look like an absolute amateur. You know, he had one great drive in the first play, and then that was kind of about it. So I really do think the MVP of this game, and I get it, you're not supposed to do this, but it's the whole defensive line. Give it to the whole front 7. I don't care. But that was a phenomenal performance by that defensive line. Remember a few weeks ago when I said all SDSU needs to do is score 3 points to win? That defensive line, they gave up 3 points, and they shut down them the whole rest of the way. So that was a fantastic performance with one nasty defense that Matt was just referencing. So yeah, that's my actual MVP. The whole line. It was freaking impressive.
Yeah, that defense was nasty, and just almost like Montana won games for South Dakota State. Jeepers, holy moly. Is it the offseason already? Kind of like how Montana's defense won games for Montana early in the season. South Dakota State's offense didn't have to do a lot because that SDSU defense wasn't giving up anything. Jamie, what do you think? MVPs besides Mark Gronowski?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Colin, but I'm going to go a little bit further back to the linebacking core. And it was really cool to see live and in person how fast collectively all of those linebackers were sideline to sideline. and it's told in one play, and that was that 4th down play, 4th and goal at the beginning of the second quarter. Usually if Eli Gilman gets outside like that, that's a touchdown. Those linebackers fill in gaps, the line holding where it was. It's just Adam Bach was sideline to sideline. Huge appreciation for him. But the linebacking core, very consistent all day long. Anytime Montana got outside the tackles, they were closed down, whether it be a pass or a run. Junior Bergen, they like to get him out of space. I thought if he got him in the flat, face up with some people, he would be able to make some plays, and that just didn't happen. The linebacking core are very, very impressed. If I'm going to single out some folks all in that specific defense, which was front to back, just phenomenal. They shut down the passing game. I do think Clifton McDowell was a little bit hurt, but no excuses to be made. South Dakota State, they were the team start to finish, no doubt about it. A great first drive for them. Then that 4th down stop, Mark Gronowski threw a terrible interception. As soon as he ran back to throw, I yelled pick, and they held him to a field goal right there, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah.
Facetiously, maybe Hunter Dustman and punting is the other MVP because he kept pinning him inside the 5 and 10, and you're not going 90 to 95 yards on South Dakota State.
No.
Completely 3 phases. That team, that's one of the better teams I've seen in FCS history. I'm not going to go, is it better than the Marshall team, better than the 13 North Dakota State? Probably not, but it's damn close, and they would have beat a lot of G5s this year.
Yeah, you stole my thunder a little bit, and that's okay, Jamie. I was going to say Hunter Dustman. I was going to see what kind of reaction that got. And looking at that stat line, 5 punts, 212 yards, 42.4 average is what he had for punting. And I was impressed by when he would punt that ball, it went out of bounds a lot. There was a lot of out of bounds punts, and usually the ref is running 20 more yards because of where the ball actually crosses the line. It was going out right where he wanted it. You're talking 6-yard line, 10-yard line, pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah.
You're never going to hand the MVP to a punter. That would be insane. But the guy deserves a lot of credit because field possession and where the ball was at, where drives were starting, was huge in that game.
Yeah, I think if you look at Montana's starting field possession, you'd be very impressed. And he wasn't going to let Junior beat him, and he played it perfectly just about every darn time.
Yes, he did. How about the historical context of that defense a little bit? Kyler, do you think it's unfair where people will say, the things you'll hear are, well, the FCS isn't what it used to be. Boy, if they had faced these teams, then it probably, their stats wouldn't have looked this good. Do you buy any of that BS? I don't really buy it.
Not really. What it used to be, for 1 year when Jerry Rice or Randy Moss was torching everyone. It is what it is, right? There hasn't been, I think the offenses nowadays are actually better than what they were back then outside of that one Marshall year. So sure, could Randy Moss and Marshall score more than 3 on this defense? Yeah, most likely, right? It'd be pretty ridiculous to think they couldn't. But outside of that, the game's changing. This is more of an offensive league. I get defensive teams win championships, but if you look at the playmakers around the FCS right now, look at the transfer portal, what's going on. I would argue there's more offensive athletes today than we've ever seen. And what this South Dakota State's defense was able to do this year, their strength of schedule was not easy, right? They play in the Missouri Valley, the best conference this year. The out of conference wasn't impressive. Oh, well, they still ran through everyone. They dominated. And statistically, this is what the best defense the FCS has ever seen statistically, or something pretty dang close to that. So yeah, you got to give it up to them. If you want to say another team from the past has a better defense, cool, that's fair, right? It's opinion based, but statistically speaking, you have to give this team some credit. It doesn't matter what you say. If they're the number 1 or 2, I don't remember what it was. I think it was either Craig or Sam posted it, or maybe it was even Zach. But yeah, if the stats don't lie on that one, what they give up total in the postseason, how many points?
15
points total in the postseason. That's stupid. So yeah, I have no issues with the coach saying this is the best defense the FCS has ever seen. Again, we don't have to agree with it, but they definitely have an argument for it. There's more arguments for it than there's arguments for it not to be So, yeah, I mean, fantastic defense. This was an incredible season by them.
Absolutely was. It was an incredible season by the Grizz too. Mike Halgreen kind of takes us into the second question here in the Big Seven. He says, I wasn't at all surprised by our Grizz losing the Natty. What do you feel their overall performance was like, though? Our defense performed well, but if our offense can't do anything, I believe it just kind of wore them down a little bit. What do you think about the Grizz overall? You guys, we all had confidence with our picks that South Dakota State was going to finish off this undefeated season. Jamie, how'd you feel about them, seeing them in person?
Yeah, it was about what I expected. If you remember from the live show, I probably picked the lowest score. But I did expect that from a very good Montana defense. And Mike's right. Everything he said was right. The offense just couldn't get it going. They did wear down at the end. I said it'd be a game for 2.5 quarters. And it kind of was, but you kind of knew once it went 14-3 there in the second quarter, it was over. I mean, we joke about it was over before we even walked in there, but I was very impressed with Montana's defense. The D-line didn't wear down quite as much as I thought it would. But, South Dakota State would just make a couple of extra plays here and there and just playing that field position game. They wound up with a couple of short fields. But I couldn't have been more impressed with that defense. Governor's a stud. They've got a lot of good pieces throughout that defense, like they've always had. Montana, over the last few years, has had an excellent defense. It's been well coached. And I was impressed with the defense. The offense got moving a little bit, but just too much behind the 8 ball. Like I said, I think Clifton was playing a little bit hurt. I don't think there was any point that you go to IOT any earlier than they did. You run what you brung, basically. And it just didn't work out for them because they were playing a better team. They should be proud of themselves. They had a great season. I'm sure Montana fans, if I had told you week 4 when I was clowning you that, hey, you're still going to lose in Frisco, every one of them would have signed up for that at that point. So, from a pretty bad start to a great finish, lots of credit to that team, to that coaching staff. The players never gave up. They played hard. Defense, very impressed.
Yeah, I got to agree. I thought this was going to be 38-10, right? 28-point loss. And kind of what I was saying was, I think a lot of us were, that this would be close for a quarter, and then they're just going to start to wear down, and the defense would be exposed, even though we all said the Grizz defense is elite. I just thought, SDSU, they're too big, they're too powerful, and they're playing against really a team that doesn't have an offense to go toe-to-toe with this defense. This is probably one of the worst Big Sky offenses, but the nice thing about the Grizz is their defense is so fantastic. To hold SDSU to 23 in the national title game when SDSU is prepped, that's pretty impressive. So I thought you guys would lose by 28, and I didn't mean to be disrespectful when I was saying that. Maybe a little bit, but that's just who I am. But overall, I mean, the defense was fantastic, especially the first half. I mean, it was a ball game. It was even more competitive than I thought. So if I'm a Grizz fan, especially like what Jamie just said, the first 5 weeks, everyone's clowning on you outside of Craig Haley. Everyone else is kind of clowning on you and saying you're not that good. Well, to turn it around, dominate your rivals, right? Dominate them, go through the playoffs, beat North Dakota State, and then you get a chance to go against arguably one of the top 4 teams in FCS history and put up a fight. Pretty fantastic. So, offense didn't really perform the way you guys wanted. The defense was electric. It was competitive for half of the game. If I'm Montana, I'm pretty excited with how this season came out to be, especially after week 5.
Yeah, the Grizz got nothing to hang their hat, nothing to be upset about. And then the whole FCS season, we said this, guys, everybody in the FCS, however your team performed this year, South Dakota State was just on a different level this season. And it was going to take a miracle and just so many problems for them to actually end up on the losing side. It was interesting. I was talking to a good guy, DJ, that I met, former Grizz player. Brian Thompson knows him really well. We were talking in the airports on a little bit of a delay. It's going to kind of lead us into our third question here. And he's just like, what is the FCS supposed to do? Especially now with NIL, with the Dakotas. He's like, Montana had 49 players from Montana. And he goes, God bless their hearts. I played for the program for 4 years. As soon as you saw them walk out in their pads and you saw South Dakota State, you were like, what are we supposed to do here? Like you saw South Dakota State kids from Nebraska and Kansas and deep Wisconsin and like you saw Montana and you were like, that's probably FCS football. And then you look at South Dakota State and you're like, that is not really FCS football. So, and he was saying with NIL, which leads us into Cody Werlinger's question I'll get to here. He's like, we thought that NDSU and SDSU were going to like, finally, they're going to come back down because NIL is going to take away their players because they're going to be the poaching grounds. No, now we see Albany has one good year and pow, they're gone. Yeah. And Idaho has one good year and pow, they're gone. So how on earth with NDSU's NIL already in the millions, it's like, what is going to catch up when you're on your best year ever, like a Montana, where you're going to hit a Dakota school, and then you're just not going to be able to get over them. I just think it's really interesting what the dynamics could look like on how worse the parity could be in the FCS. And to get into Cody Werlinger's question and Chancey Odell's question here, he says, are you shocked more players from Montana or SDSU haven't transferred to an FBS school, says Cody? And then Gronowski, Mason, Kleinholtz, or someone else at quarterback for the Jacks next year, says Chancey Odell. And I think that's all predicated off the fact that Mr. Mark Gronowski is a graduate senior, from my understanding, so he can wait to transfer all the way up until May something.
Yeah. He's got to graduate first. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, he's got to graduate first, but from our understanding, there's no firm decision in terms of a Mark Gronowski going to, everyone's been talking about him going to Northwestern because the offensive coordinator. So the question here really is, are we shocked at all about like a McDowell going on to the portal? A lot of guys are declaring for the draft. Is it shocking to you, Jamie, being the FBS guy, that you're not seeing more of these guys hopping up? Or what are your feelings on like Gronowski and others?
A little bit. As far as Mark goes, Zach Luhan hasn't been announced that officially at Northwestern.
He moved his Twitter today, and it was at Northwestern.
Today. Okay. Because, through the transfer window was through Friday for those guys. So I think Luhan was, fielding other offers potentially. But once it got to about Wednesday and Mark hadn't gone in the portal, that was telling to me. And I'm sitting there thinking, what else does he have left to accomplish at the FCS level? Well, there's one more thing. And I feel like, it's this rivalry. He wants to wipe all the NDSU out the book. He's going to try to wipe Eastern Stick wins record out the book. He needs 12, I believe. So I think I don't think that was his decision, but I think, he's in an engineering school. He's in a good program. He's got a great team. Yeah, it's going to look a little different next year, but there's still going to be weapons there. We probably find a little bit more if he is that guy or not. Because you lose a lot, but they also keep a lot. 34 seniors. It's still an experienced team next year with what's coming back and who's coming back. I believe Adam Bach coming back on the defensive side because he's got another redshirt, an injury hardship year or something. So, but back to the question, am I shocked? A little, but not really. Because these are kind of like you said, 49 players from Montana. They live to play for the Grizz. South Dakota State, great culture, winning. You're getting on ESPN. So I'm not super shocked. I'm a little shocked that Mark didn't transfer, but I'm not like completely flabbergasted. It makes sense. So I'm a little shocked, but not really. I think Gronowski obviously is the quarterback there next year. But, it'll defensive how much crap Kyler's gotten about how Mark's not that guy. You know what? He is. But at the same time, if your fan base is telling me that the guy behind him is more athletic, more talented, then how is Mark that guy? Like, he is. To me, Mark was that guy. But why are you giving Kyler so much crap when you're sitting there telling us in your next breath that the next guy's better and more talented and more athletic? It doesn't add up, but God bless you, Deb Gronowski, Ray Gronowski, Ryan. Great family. Love you guys.
Best
Great
family.
Spending time with you.
Best family.
It might be Kleiman got a lot of crap for this. It's a famous NDSU story. He got asked in a playoff presser and the opposing team's coaches hated it. They said, is this the best quarterback that you faced this year? And he said, no, it's our backup, the redhead kid from Bismarck, which was Carson Wentz in the midst of the Brock Jensen run. So who knows? Kyler, what do you think about the whole transfer thing right now in terms of these natty teams?
Yeah, I thought Mark was going to stay. I kind of made that public in our Airbnb. I actually didn't think he was going to transfer because I think that's a riskier move for him. I mean, if you become a three-peat national champion quarterback, if you have all your Walter Payton, if you break the wins record, I think that puts you in a better position than failing at Northwestern. Not that he's going to fail. I mean, Northwestern was actually a good program this year, but I mean, they're going to be playing in a Big Ten that's even getting more talented. The top four-ish Pac-12 schools are going to come in.
And Kurt Cignetti.
Yeah. and Kurt Cignetti, the coach. So we'll see what happens, but I think it's a riskier move. I think if Gronowski plays it out and he even is better this upcoming year at South Dakota State, he's going to get an NFL look no matter what. If he goes to Northwestern, and Northwestern is one of the least talented rosters, not Mark, I'm just saying one of the most least talented rosters in the Big Ten, it may not play out as well as maybe you'd think, right? This was one of those, it wasn't like Vernon Adams going to Oregon. He probably wasn't getting drafted either way, but he excelled at Oregon. He was the most efficient quarterback in the league. And then Gage Guber going to Washington State. Kind of hurt him. I bet you actually if he stayed at Eastern Washington one more year, now there's a little bit of a story, so we won't get into that. But if he had the ability or the option to stay at Eastern Washington one more year and put up another 5,000-yard season, he probably could have at least got picked up by an NFL team to do some workouts, worst case scenario. So sometimes the grass isn't greener on the other side. The only two transfers that I was shocked at was Junior Bergen. He decided to go back to Montana. I really did think he was going to go, especially when like Colorado was offering him. I mean, that would have been a fun thing to see Junior Bergen at Colorado with Dion. But then McDowell, I was shocked at that. And this is where people are really going to get mad at me from the Montana fan base. And we were talking about this in Frisco too. I said, McDowell's probably the 10th best quarterback in the Big Sky. And I really do stand by that. I don't think a lot of Big Sky teams would have traded their quarterback for McDowell. I don't think so. I mean, I don't even know if Weber would have when they got their backup starting at the end. So I don't know. I was shocked to see him enter the transfer portal, but maybe that's also some telltale signs writing on the walls. When people were in the stands chanting they want IOP, maybe that's more of a decision he had to leave because he probably wasn't going to be the starter next year. So those were, the only two shocking ones. Everyone else from Montana who's transferring, I don't know. But then to kind of answer your question on like the NILs, Matt, because you were getting a little bit into that.
Yeah.
I think when the NIL was announced, this is one of the things where I said, I think the Montanas and the Dakotas are going to excel compared to everyone else. And it's because if you're looking at them, again, they are the NFL teams in their state. So I get it. SDSU was way bigger than anyone that Montana faced this year. They just had giant size. It was an unreal seeing the size of them. They were bigger than the NDSU teams I've seen in the past. But Montana's in one of those scenarios where they could probably actually generate more NIL money than SDSU, and they're probably in a better region to get better athletes. If you're looking at what can Utah State or some of these Mountain West schools do that Montana can't, probably not that much. I don't know some of these other Mountain West schools that have a billionaire donor who's just throwing money at them whenever they really want or need, right? Montana State, North Dakota State are extremely profitable athletic budgets. They are extremely profitable fan bases. SDSU is getting up there too, right? Because of the last few years, they're starting to show it too. But in terms of NIL money, those are four programs that could easily steal money from a lot of G5, potentially offer more money than some of these G5 programs. Their fan bases are awesome. And again, they are the NFL team. Outside of maybe Boise, right? That's the NFL team of Idaho. Most of the other West Coast G5s, sure, they have a bigger fan base right now, but I don't know if the money is, for a donor standpoint, is really there. I mean, are you really going to donate tons of money for an NIL to get someone to San Jose State? They could, right? Just because of their location, Palo Alto area, but they don't have those dudes there. If Mr. Washington from Wa Grizz wants the best player in the region that's not going to go P5, he can buy him. And not a lot of other FCS programs, even the Dakotas outside of North Dakota State, can say that. I mean, I really do think if Montana and South Dakota State put on some NIL program and they were bidding to see who would win these players, Montana would most likely be able to bid more and win more of those guys. Now, can they develop them the same way? I don't know. Are they recruiting the same way? I don't know. I think that's more of coaching issues. And SDSU has a down pat. They are developing, they're recruiting, they are finding the dudes who they can develop into their system. And it's fantastic to watch.
Yeah, it is interesting to see. It's a whole new world out there with the FCS and FBS, and it is making the landscape just interesting across the board. Speaking of interesting, we kind of close the 2023 season and start looking forward to 2024. It seems crazy to do, but hey, we did a pretty good job of this last year in terms of predicting stuff. And guys, Brady Brettel and John Thurman, kind of two questions combined here. Brady says, is NDSU a sleeping giant? With SDSU losing so many super seniors and Montana losing their quarterback, it seems like NDSU is in a great position to get back to winning championships. Jack's rebuilding year, says John, but still strong with games being blowouts and their depth getting some play. How do you think that will factor into a run for next year compared to others with the portal losses? Okay, so looking into top 24, we're going to get into some top 5 predictions, top 25 dark horses. So hold on if you're still listening to us. But speaking on the Dakotas here, probably people's favorites going into next year. A sleeping giant for North Dakota State. Both, I see some head nods. Jamie, what do you think?
Get over yourselves. You didn't go away. You were in the damn semifinals on a terrible season. You lost 3 games, and you still made the semifinals. There's no sleeping giant. No, you're awake. You're still a giant. You just happen to lose in double overtime. Nice try, though.
Jamie wants to just put it to rest. Let me say this, though.
SDSU still the top team. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I'll say this. So last year, I on this season finale episode, I feel like I did a good job of breaking down why NDSU 2022 wasn't successful because we failed the narrative, where SDSU 2023 would be because of so many people returning. There was nobody to discount in terms of their losses, yada, yada, yada. NDSU is in that position for next year to put it this way. If you're watching on YouTube, SDSU this year was way up at the top of the screen, right? And then there was probably NDSU and Montana, maybe one others that were like this far below them, still a wide gap. And then the rest of the FCS way below. I just think that what NDSU is going to bring back and what SDSU is going to lose a little bit is going to make them get more on an even playing field.
Raise that SDU hand just a little bit more and you'll be good.
Well, with NDSU, they lose 2 offensive line starters, 1 depth tight end, and Zach Mathis at receiver offensively. And that's a pretty damn good offense.
Yeah, there's their only good wide receiver. So there you go.
It's actually their 3rd best one behind Raja Nelson and Eli Green. Defensively, though, they're going to lose a starting defensive end, Jake Cava. Starting corner Jaden Price is a big loss. Derrick, their D tackle, went into the portal off to Kansas, and they lost a depth cornerback. Now, there's a few onesie-twosies in there that were depth guys that, to be honest, not even I could kind of name their names. And then they just brought in a 300-pound guard from Marshall in the portal. So, like, just hearing that, like, that's NDSU's losses outside of, there still could be some changes in the coaching staff at NDSU. Guys could hit the portal. You never know. But right now on paper, NDSU looks to basically bring back the whole thing. They're bringing back Cole, their strong safety. They're bringing back both the Mozart twins for super senior years. They're bringing back Greg Zabel, their stud offensive lineman, who was offered nearly $1 million in the portal. Like, they're bringing everything back the way you kind of felt about SDSU in 2023, where SDSU is going to lose the Yankee twins. They're going to, they're losing Isaiah Davis. They're losing their stud monster offensive linemen who've been starters for years. Not to discount the depth, but that was like 2022 NDSU. You did lose a bunch of dudes, and it had its impacts on you. So but I think NDSU is, maybe sleeping giant. I get it. They're still great. I do think that they're going to close that gap more than people realize. And SDSU will also travel to UND, NDSU, UNI, and NDSU will host all those teams at home. So it's an interesting setup for next year for things to possibly flip.
But it's that first part of the question. Is NDSU a sleeping giant? Who's not calling NDSU a giant? Like, they are the number 1 team in FCS history, number 1 program. It's not like they fell off the face of the earth.
Well, I saw a lot of tweets and Facebook comments that said it was over.
From Bob.
I saw a lot of them.
Yeah, from Bob. Well, but just because you're not going to win 8 of 10, and I don't think any realist fan would actually think NDSU is going to win 8 of 10 this upcoming year. Winning 3 is still going to be fantastic. I mean, that is still a dominant program. But who's not calling them a giant? That's what's crazy about this question. Literally, they had their 2 worst years outside of the spring, right? We don't really, it is what it is. It happened, but it's not a normal season, so I don't care to talk about that much. So they had their 2 worst years in maybe the last 12. And they're going to finish 2-3. Oh no, we're a sleeping giant. No, a sleeping giant would be dedicated to a UC Davis who hasn't done anything, who could go up and prove something wrong. Montana, you could have even considered them a sleeping giant, but I don't even consider them a sleeping giant because they're historically still good. A sleeping giant is something who has not been awake. NDSU took a nap. They didn't fall asleep. They just took a quick power nap, a 15-minute power nap to readjust. They're going to be easily the second favorite team to make a run to Frisco this year. Like, if you're betting, and then if you go to Vegas and put a number down to see who's going to win the national title in 2024, there's going to be 2 teams that are going to be well above the rest, and it's going to be South Dakota State and NDSU. So, yeah, to even ask this question, I mean, I appreciate the question, guys. I'm not trying to harp on you, but to call NDSU or ask if they're still a sleeping giant, that's the most ridiculous question I've ever seen in my life. Use it for Idaho. Use it for Villanova. Use it for someone from the SoCon, someone who hasn't done anything for a while or ever. Those would be sleeping giants. NDSU is just a giant who maybe fell. They hurt their knee, but they got back up. They're fine.
Yeah, they hurt their knee or their heel. Oh, getting those mixed up a little bit. Hurt their heels. And they're ready to step up. Yeah,
we'll cut down that beanstalk, and all you Dakota Giants can fall off, you pieces of shit.
It could be boring next year again, which you never know. But Cody Werlinger wants us to ask and figure out who are your top 5 preseason teams. Here we go. Listen, I'd love to start this off, but how can we not go to Jamie Williams, who undoubtedly next year for season 8 of this podcast when it kicks off will totally do a great job of giving us like all ranked 120 whatever teams there are next year. So Jamie, top 5 going into next year, what is your gut telling you?
Anybody hoping for any chaos, just turn it off now. South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Montana, South Dakota, Montana State.
Oh, you switched it around there a little bit.
A little bit. I put Montana State at 5 just because they kind of fell off the end. They've had a lot of transfer issues, but they've also built their team well. South Dakota brings back a lot. So, yeah, players and teams from Montana and the Dakotas. Sorry about you, everybody else.
I disagree.
Who do you got there, Kyler? Who else? Because that's what everybody's going to say. What do you think?
I think 4 of his picks are right. I just don't buy the South Dakota hype. The University of South Dakota. I think, yeah, Montana State, even though Montana State loses quite a bit, I think they actually might be down next year. They should definitely be in the preseason top 5. I don't think they're actually going to finish in the top 5. So maybe that's where I'd have a question on our predictions. But I like Nova going into next year. Their schedule's not that tough. They're going to beat Youngstown State in the very opening game. Then, you have the CA where it's not that impressive in terms of scheduling balance. So they play a couple tough teams, but they'll play Delaware at the end, but that doesn't really count to anything. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go with the CA team, and I'm going to go Villanova because I think Albany's going to drop off quite a bit. But
that just messed up my answer for the next question.
Oh, my bad.
Well, Craig Haley,
the dark horse, the Sleeping Giants.
The Sleeping Giants. That's not the Little Giants, I believe, is the name of the movie. Craig Haley's never too early preseason top 10 from FCS Stats for 2024. Showing it on the screen here. He has NDSU, SDSU, Montana, USD, Montana State, and there is Kyler Neal's Villanova at number 6.
Ooh, really? He has some interesting ones that I'm not even putting in my top 25, let alone top 10.
What, like number 9 and 10?
So, yeah, I actually think 5 of those teams potentially are not going to be in the top 10 at the end of the next season.
Well, hey, here, Kyler, I'll give you an on-ramp here because Dustin Helton, the Rev, great to spend some time down there with you, Rev, Airbnb living, funny as heck in that bunny suit. He says, what are your early top 25 dark horse teams? So, I mean, all right, take out the Dakotas, take out the Montanas, take out USDs. Who are these teams you guys are seeing? Because we had easy picks, right? We probably had an Albany. We probably had Idaho's. And the pro giveth and it taketh away. Well, it took away a lot from some of these teams. So I think a lot of people are lost in the sauce. I don't really think, unless you're going to tell me that, like, you're going to tell me like Butler's going to win the Natty, there's not much off limits here for what people would put in that top 25. So I'm really curious, research-wise, what you guys are seeing. Tyler, you got a team. You're saying William and Mary, Idaho's. You're not as high on?
William and Mary's going to suck. They weren't good this year. They're not going to get better next year. Idaho's going to drop off a little bit. Sac State's going to drop off a little bit. Montana State's going to drop off a little bit. South Dakota's going to drop off. Central Arkansas is tough. I don't think they deserve any type of preseason top 10 love. They're a talented team, but preseason top 10 is pretty wild. Yeah, that's poorly coached as well. That's a wild thing to put William and Mary and Central Arkansas in there. Makes me question more. So I guess define dark horse. Do we really, is it like the normal one? Are they going to make a run to the semis? Because I don't think there's really a true dark horse.
You know, dude, I wouldn't even, so use dark horse as this. This is weird to say, but use dark horse as anybody who's number 7 and below, because seriously, I'll admit it right here. I haven't done enough research right now, and based off the portal losses and graduating classes, for me to sit here and be like, oh yeah, top 10, you could throw in blank, blank, blank in 8, 9, 11. I don't feel confident making those statements. So the FCS may be closed, as Jamie put it, for the top 5, but boy, is it going to be wide open.
So,
somewhere there's going to be the Incarnate Word. Somewhere there's going to be the Idaho. Who is it?
Here's going to be my dark horse, and it's just someone who didn't go to the playoffs, didn't win their conference. I think they're going to win their conference next year and win it fairly easy, and that's Incarnate Word. I do think they just have more talent. They'll be able to gel together. They didn't lose all their coaches every single year. I think that is going to be a team that's going to be back. They're going to be in the top 10. Are they truly a top 10? I mean, we won't know until they actually they play SDSU in the beginning of the year, so they'll be road tested, right? So that'll be very helpful. They probably get blown out there, but overall, I think Incarnate Word is going to be one of those teams that's probably going to go. I haven't looked at their schedule, so I don't know. Maybe you could pull it up. Probably 11-1, 10-2, maybe, depending on what FBS team they play. But that won't really count, and they're not going to really hold that SDSU loss to them too much. So I think they win the Southland. I think they probably are in a prime position to get a seed, because I think the Southland's going to get worse, and I think they're going to get better. So if we're talking about a team that didn't even win their conference and one bid league to potentially going to be most likely to get a seed, yeah, let me throw Incarnate Word in the mix.
I like it. I'll throw in Illinois State, the Redbirds. They actually are going to return a ton of players after a pretty good season here last year. And so I think it's like 17 starters or something crazy. Defense performed really well. And when you look at their out-of-conference schedule, they'll go lose to Iowa. But then they're going to get Eastern Illinois, Western Illinois, North Alabama, and out-of-conference. And they're going to play Missouri State at home. They're going to go at Murray State. They're going to face Youngstown. They get Indiana State. They get UND, who's going to be bad at home. So I think Illinois State's going to win enough games to get into that playoff field.
Yeah.
And I like the Redbirds to pop back up. Shout out Adam Peterson. I think that's a team that could be sneaky good next year in the Valley. Pick. So I'll go with them. Jamie, you got any dark horses before we roll into our final Big 7 question?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I do think Villanova's going to be better than people think, but since Kyler put them in the top 5, I won't go with them. I don't really think that's a bad take, because they return everybody for the most part. Connor Watkins at quarterback. When you can return a good quarterback in a conference that's heading in the opposite direction you are, it's a good thing. I got 2 teams. Chattanooga, I think will have they didn't deserve to get in the playoffs this year, but they got in there. They won a game. I think they're going to do some damage in the SoCon. And I'm just going to say it because y'all don't want me to. I'm telling you to watch out for Southern Utah. They're building something there.
They're ready
playing. You can call me whatever you want about it. I get it. Fits my body and all that. But they're building something there. And I mean, he was one play away from winning that conference this year.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to do nothing but get better. The team that won the conference is getting worse because they need a quarterback and about 100 other things and lost their coach.
And they were what did it fit say? The youngest team in all the NCAA this last year?
Yeah, one of the
That's
youngest
a
teams.
solid pick.
So I mean, people can clown me if they want, but just keep your eyes. Like I said about Western Carolina for the last couple of years, this team's on the rise, and they haven't done much since about 2017. But obviously, to me, they've got the right coach in place, done some good job in recruiting and keeping guys. They didn't lose hardly anything to the portal. Now they do have to replace Justin Miller, who's a solid quarterback, but they've got somebody. So yeah, those are my two teams. But I do like Chattanooga. I like Chase Artopius or Artopius, however you say that. We'll be saying it a lot next year because I think they're going to be good.
They'll win enough games to win that really horrible conference and then lose to a Big Sky team in the playoffs or Missouri Valley. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's about it.
Round one, regional. It's going to happen.
Round one, regional.
They might get like Elon though too. So
maybe they are seeding more teams next year. So let's go.
We hope.
Yep, fingers crossed on that one.
To me.
Maybe they'll face on someone who finally gets a little easier schedule. Maybe they'll face with no reply authorized. Can't even reply to what I'm about to say. Maybe they'll face some Eastern Washington Eagles. You never know. With that out of conference schedule might.
What about Weber as a dark horse too?
Couldn't even help himself. He's like, I got to respond.
No, Weber potentially as a dark horse too. I picked them exactly, and Weber fans were mad at me when I didn't include them in my top 25 for the preseason, even though they were quarterfinal team or whatever. I was like, they just lose too much. They have a tough schedule, and I think they're going to go 6-5. They end up going 6-5. So pat myself on the back right there. And Eastern beat them, you bums. But this is a team that maybe finally found their quarterback. He came in for the first time against Eastern. That was his first start, I believe. We beat them, but after that, Weber was playing pretty dang good. I mean, they beat Idaho, I believe. They have a good defense. They're in a great recruiting area, big school, pretty stadium. And now maybe they finally have a quarterback that they've been missing for a long time. So even maybe look at them to be a dark horse to jump up into the top 25 again, maybe make a run in the playoffs towards maybe the quarterfinals or something like that. Best case scenario.
I like it. Good predictions there, guys. And it'll be interesting to see when those top 25 start flowing at the end of next summer. Amos Fawcett has a question. Famous Amos.
There you go.
There you go.
The first time.
Took all damn season.
I thought about that all day, Amos. All day long. I was just like, famous Amos. Did the CAA prove they are still the third best conference in the FCS? The final Big Seven question of season 7 for us here on the pod. Kyler, you seem to be so good, honestly, every year about how you feel a conference is going to play out in terms of, hey, I think the Valley's taking a step back. I think the Big Sky's better than people think. Rarely have you wrong here. It's kind of
this year. That was the opposite.
Okay.
I said Big Sky was taking a step back. The Valley's going to dominate.
Yeah. So there you go. See, no matter you have a natural ability for this. You are the Rayman of conference standings. So what do you think? CAA still the third best conference in the FCS, and how do you see Big 3, 4, SoCon, others kind of mixing up next year?
Yeah, I think until proven otherwise, you still got to leave the CAA up there at the number 3 spot. I do think they're on still a trajectory that's not going to improve. I think they're still going to regress over time. I mean, they just lost Delaware and they added another bum team. So it's one of those things where I just don't think the CA is going to get better, but there's still potentially a gap. I mean, what you're also going to have with the CA is they're going to have more ranked teams than everyone else, even potentially more than the Missouri Valley and the Big Sky, because their out-of-conference schedules are a joke for most of them. Some of them are playing a tough schedule this next year for out-of-conference, and I applaud them because I want to give all of them crap for playing no one. But a few of those teams do play really tough out-of-conference schedules, so I will give some credit. And then they have such an unbalanced schedule where they're going to get some high-ranked teams. It's going to go in the playoffs where they're going to play another regional team from a really bad conference that, guess what, everyone should win. And then you're going to have a couple good teams that are pretty well rested because they haven't played anyone who can make it a good run in the playoffs. But I mean, I think the Big Sky and Missouri Valley are definitely on a tier above the CA, but I think the SoCon's nipping at their heels. I think the A-Sun has a lot of potential. Have they lived up to that potential yet? No, but they don't have a lot of the super weak teams that maybe the CA and even SoCon do. So I think they're still number 3 for now, but there's 2 other conferences that are starting to nip at their heels, and we'll see if one of them can overtake it. But until a SoCon team makes it past the quarters, and they got close with Montana, right? But it didn't happen until a UAC team wins a game in the playoffs. Yeah, I think you still have to put the CA number 3 for now.
I always love to hear your predictions on the conferences. It's going to be fun to see how they play out next year. It's just going to be interesting. I think you're going to see the Missouri Valley maybe in the middle come down a little bit. I think they're going to be pretty top heavy, and it'll be interesting to see how things flip around. I always you shouldn't predicate anything off this, but I'm always like, all right, Montana is now going to Montana State, and I like looking at the Big Sky scheduling to kind of see how that will play out. Jamie, any final thoughts here for Amos on this question?
Yeah, I'm real interested to see the CAA moving forward because Delaware doesn't really. I mean, they'll play obviously some FCS next year, but they won't be part of the rankings. They won't be part of the potential playoff field. And opposite of what you said about the Valley, I'm concerned for the CAA that it's going to be bottom heavy with what they've added, and you'll have a couple good teams at the top, but you're not going to have that middle that was pretty good that would help kind of prop the conference up, and you'd have those teams that were still over 500. I think you're going to have a lot of bad teams and a couple good teams and continue to regress. I don't see how the CAA maintains. I mean, you can keep adding teams all you want, but Brian ain't it, boss.
No. And the SoCon looks like they are continuing to improve every single year, which is really nice because we need a better conference in the South. So if the SoCon keeps improving, yeah, I think they would jump up above the CA, but I still think they got to earn it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said about the UAC. A lot of solid teams, nothing great, but nothing real trash.
Yeah, potential.
Yeah, they're the balance between what Matt said about the Valley and what I said about CA. They're that conference that doesn't have anything.
No good teams, no real bad teams. Yeah. They're just a whole bunch of mediocre,
which makes for good football.
The middle class of the FCS conferences.
Oh, and back to the previous question, Tarleton State is eligible for the first time next year. So keep your eye on
that. They'll be a team to watch out for.
They'll be fun in CUSA in 2026. They'll be a fun team to watch up in the FBS ranks. Well, you said Bryant isn't it, Jamie, but Brian is it, especially when he buys us tacos.
Taco King, coming to you from bright and sunny Fargo, North Dakota. It's time for a taco bet. And time for you losers to pay up.
Shout out to Taco King, who bought a crap load of tacos, a little bit more of a low-key party this year. And it was a lot of fun. Fed ourselves great with Tikis. Is that
Torchies?
Torchies is what it is. Torchies, great tacos in Texas. Shout out to him. Happy to always be with the Taco King. And guys, we're kind of out of FCS football. So you know what? We're going to have a little bit of fun on the NFL side. And we're going to go, and if we're recording this on Sunday, my Dallas Cowboys just got wiped off the face of the earth by Kyler's stupid Packers who can just draft quarterbacks and have them be good for years.
Just like
years
Eastern Washington, baby. I get lucky.
So the over-under here taco bet is I'm going to put some faith in your guys' squads. Over-under 1.5 of our favorite NFL teams making it to the conference title games. Jamie Williams is a proud Buffalo Bills fan who will play on Monday.
As y'all found out.
Because they should be in a dome so they can actually play games on time. And Kyler Neal's Packers, gross, go Pack go.
Yeah, baby.
Tucker Crafts, Christian Watson's all over that roster. Upset Dallas. So the question here really is, will we see the Packers and Bills? Well, Bills have got to win this week. Will we see both of them get to the NFC or AFC title game or just one of them? Go ahead, Jamie. How much faith do we have in each of these teams?
I never, ever bet against my team. I do think they can go beat Pittsburgh. They get another home game if they do that. So that's the AFC title game. So, yeah, I think the Bills will be in the AFC title game. The problem with the Packers is they're facing San Francisco.
Mm.
And that's a damn good team. I think the Packers are from the beginning of the year to now, are one of the most improved teams. I just don't think they get past San Francisco, so I'll take the under.
Okay. Screw it. I'm going to go New York Giants 2007. And I'm going to say the Packers go in and they go in and they get some revenge on those 49ers who caused those Kaepernick years, caused some problems for Aaron Rodgers and the boys. And I like your Bills to go. So I'm going to go over. My season's done. I think we see another insane upset. We've seen it in the past. So I'm going to go Packers win. I'm going to say the Bills win too. Congrats to you guys on getting to the NFC title.
If you're looking for insane upsets, the Bills do find some ridiculous ways to lose, and it is not cool.
Dallas just gets blown out, so it's also crappy. Kyler, what do you got, man? Over under here.
Well, the Packers are doing what they always do. They beat the Cowboys. I know this because my wife always gets mad at me, and it seems like it's every single year during this time of the year. So we typically do what we always do, beat Dallas, and then we go play the 49ers where we lose. So, the Packers aren't going to make it. 49ers are even better than what they were when they were beating us all the time in the playoffs. So, if I had a bet on a team to move forward, it would not be the Packers. I'm also not betting on the Bills.
Dang, double under.
After I saw Jamie in the living room, saw a new type of Jamie, and now I just want to see pissed off Jamie because it's more fun. So I actually think we're getting 0. So, of course, I'm going the under.
It would, even if we get past Pittsburgh, it's we finally get Patrick Mahomes in our building, so we'll see. By the way, here's a cool stat. In the playoffs, the Packers have more wins at AT&T Stadium than the Cowboys do.
I believe
we're also the first team to lose to a 7 seed in the history of the NFL. So shout out Mike McCarthy. Get it done, baby.
You're welcome.
Oh, man. Well, let's get out of this segment quickly because I'm depressed as a Cowboys fan, and I also could use a nice hit of something just to bring me back up. So quick hits. Here we go.
Just because your question is answered quickly doesn't mean we don't care. These are the quick hit questions of the week.
Gentlemen, the last quick hit segment of the season. Gonna start it off with our good buddy, the Rev, Dustin Helton. Are you sad, happy, relieved that the season is done? And what were your favorite parts of it? What do you look forward to the most in Frisco in 2025? Interesting. Pretty easy for me, Rev. I thought SDSU would go undefeated and win it all, and the season would be boring. So I'm glad that that's done. And I think there might be a chance we get a new champion. I'm very curious. What do I look for most in Frisco? I'm looking forward to, if it is NDSU, SDSU, how the FCS will feel about that. Would they be willing to let NDSU win? Like, be more cheering for the Bison? Or are they still so upset over a decade plus that they're like, screw it, let the Bunnies win again? So I'd be interested to see what the national landscape thought process would be if that was the matchup. All right, Kyler, what do you got? You sad, happy, relieved for this sucker to be over? And what are you looking forward to?
So happy. We're a basketball school now, guys. So I'm just watching basketball. No, I'm extremely happy. This was a boring season. A lot of shitty teams made it far. It really pissed me off. Next year will be fun. I hope my team improves. So yeah, if Eastern sucks, I'm always looking forward to the season being over. So we sucked. Thank God the season's over. Let's go watch some football next season.
Jamie, how you feeling about it all, man?
It's over. It's fine. It was a fine season. My favorite part of it and what I'm looking forward to Frisco is, it's the same thing as every time. It's like you get to spend time with my friends, hanging out with you guys, getting to meet all the different people that we meet. It is what it is. It's like my team doesn't play in the FCS, so I just enjoy the football, and then I enjoy spending time with y'all and meeting up with Sam and Zach and Kevin and Stone and Jackrabbit Illustrated guys, everybody. It's just become, to me, FCS Fans Nation, as we've been doing, it's become a celebration of the year of the FCS, honoring the two teams that are there. But it's like, hey, celebrate the FCS and be there, and it's a lot of fun, and that's what I always look forward to, spending time with FCS fans and especially you guys.
Couldn't agree more. We met so many people that came up to us and talked to us. By the way, you have all permission, everybody in planet Earth that's down there. If you want to come up and talk to us, you don't have to come up and say, sorry, we don't mean to bother you. Trust us, we are not that important. I heard that statement way too much this last weekend. You just tap on the shoulder and be like, hey, Matt, the loser in his basement, I want to talk to you real quick about FCS football. That's a way better intro.
I still like the South Dakota State fan. That is still my favorite. He just looked at me and went, you. That's how I want to be mentioned. So if you see me in Frisco or anywhere else, honestly, if you want me to smile and have a good time, just come up and do that.
Just about.
It makes my day.
That's Kyler from Daniel Tosh's early stand-up. He said, he goes, I get thousands of fan emails a day. And the one I opened once was subject line, hey, asshole. Which, by the way, if you want to get my attention, is the only way I'm going to actually look at something. That's how you get Kyler's attention in Frisco. Adam Peterson, who I just gave a shout out to his Redbird, says, how will the Cowboys disappoint again? Go, Pack, go. Well, Adam, you just saw it. I saw that question. I'm going to move on from it quickly here, but I have to show you this. I became a Cowboys fan after they won the Super Bowl in 96. I was a 6-year-old at my parents' Super Bowl party. So I've never seen them as a fan ever get to an NFC title game. I'm just going to share this one tweet on Twitter here. Nobody hates the Cowboys more than lifelong millennial Cowboy fans who've never experienced the joy of being good, but have been hated on their entire lives. That is my exact experience. Everyone's like, I hate the Cowboys. And I'm like, well, I've never seen them be good. So it is what it is, as Kyler would say. Also, I'm saying that statement way too much on my day-to-day because of Kyler.
It is.
All right, Montana Grizz, Jamie, help me out. The backup quarterback could be starter quarterback. What's his name?
Jelani Ayat.
Ayat. Does Ayat for the Grizz, or does Houck bring in a transfer from the portal for a starter next year? And does Houck sign another 4-year contract? Jonathan Stubb wants to know. What do you think, Jamie? They going to stick with, this guy's going to be the guy now with McDowell gone, right?
Yeah, it'll be Ayat. He's a legacy there. His father played there. I think. I know he was in mop-up duty, a.k.a. garage time, but hey, he looked good in his little drive. I think he's got talent. I think they're very excited about him. Even when he came in games during the season, performed pretty good. So get a full spring under his belt, a full fall, August practice, starting games. I think this guy's going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you don't think about with Montana is Cole Grossman as a freshman was an absolute stud tight end. Missed the entire year with an injury. He's back.
Yeah. The Grizz are going to be back in 2024. The Grizz are back now, So just like Texas football. Hey, Kyler, quick hits. Zach Wilson wants to know, football should be played in indoor or outdoor stadiums. What do you think?
Outdoor stadiums are always the most fun. I get it. It's nice and warm. It's always 75 degrees. But I can tell you, my favorite experiences are when it's horrible weather. Sure, you're not having fun when the game's going on unless you're really drunk, because then you're having fun. But it's the stories you share after. Like, again, that Frisco, when it was cold, rainy, horrible weather, the game's not fun, but the stories after. And that's what makes everything better. Something that you can continue to talk about every single year, 20 years down the road from now, and then you start to laugh or you start to smile. So all the time, indoor stadiums are absolutely... They're horrible. They should actually be illegal. You guys think red turf should be illegal? No. Go be like Buffalo Bills. Go be like Jamie Williams. Play outside. I don't care if it's minus 8 million degrees. Play outside. If it's 140, now that sucks. If you're in the South, you deserve to have a dome. In the winter, no.
Man invented HVAC and AC and a lot of things for a reason. And they should be utilized as much as humanly possible because we don't live outdoors anymore, guys. So... that's all I'll say about that. Justin James says, should there be conference championship games and a shorter playoff? What do you think, Jamie?
No. We've got a good playoff. I mean, we probably have too many teams. We could have a shorter playoff and no conference title games. That'd be cool. Just go back to 16.
Well, bouncing off that, did the selection committee get it right? And do you agree with the number of at-large slots given to each conference? What do you think about that?
The committee got it 23 out of 24. Chattanooga was wrong. They took advantage of their opportunity and won a game. and they got each conference right because their slot should have gone to Western Carolina.
Interesting. Kyler, what do you got here? Mark Johnson, transfer portal with an finite number of FBS roster spots, and are all of us FCS fans making too big of a deal about some players entering and moving up? Won't some have to come back down, or some from FBS have to move down? I will say a lot of teams like NDSU and others, they won't take players back once they move on. That's kind of a philosophy of a program. What do you think, Kyler?
I mean, it's just the nature of what's going on. You're just going to have to live with it. Now, the nice thing about this is, some of the studs are going to move up. It is what it is. But there's going to be drop downs who are going to absolutely kill it. What also this leads for is less high school studs going to some of these bigger schools. So the nice thing is we're going to see some kids that maybe would have not even thought to go to our schools, but all these FBS teams, they keep stealing our FCS players. So that it reduces how many scholarships are given to kids outside of high school. We could be a farm system. It is what it is. But maybe that just means we're actually going to get more studs out of high school too. And cool, we still have a whole bunch of JUCO guys who are actually phenomenal that maybe just didn't, graduate or maybe they had some decisions that didn't go their way, or maybe they were kids like Aaron Rodgers who just didn't have an option, and then you torch people. So, I mean, there's still a lot of opportunity for these FCS teams to find studs, find hidden gems, and potentially even go after big-time players that we never thought would be possible, and to go after these amazing FBS players that just didn't cut it in the FBS. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's all fine.
Yeah, Sam Herter says it well. It'll give and it'll take away, but it's probably going to be all right. Jason Blocken says, what do we make of all these late December and early January coaching moves? Lots of movements and shifts. Jamie, got to go to you, man, because, James Madison with their guy moving on, and bowl games and playoffs still to be played, yet things get announced and guys move. What are your thoughts on all that?
Unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. It sucks when you get to now, when Drew Connick leaves Mercer this week. The portal does open back up, but it's tough. But the coaches are going to look out for themselves. They're going to go when they need to go. I mean, Washington loses their coach because Nick Saban retires, and then Washington hires Jed Fish from Arizona. It's just a cycle, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Just like the transfer portal gives it, takes it away. Thankfully, we had time to hit the portal recruiting, and we've gotten some solid players, and we'll be okay. But yeah, I mean, it sucks for Mercer, whose coach is leaving now, and they got to hire somebody. It sucks that took Texas Southern a month to finally hire somebody, and then they didn't hire Fred McNair. Okay, weird, but go for it. That's just, like I said, it's just the nature of the beast.
Kyler, what is one thing that is still on your bucket list to do or see in the Frisco area that is a must-do, says Jim Poppin. Our final quick hit question of the season, my man.
I think I've done and seen everything you can do and see in Frisco. I mean, I saw my team win in Frisco, so there we go, right? I wasn't at the game, but at least saw them. I saw my team go to Frisco. Outside of, I don't even like the Dallas area, so if you're talking about a bucket list, it's getting the hell out of the airport. That's the bucket list. Get out there as soon as possible, because I was stuck there all freaking day. But I always have a good time, great venue, great location to host a national title, great friends, like Jamie was saying. Overall, I don't wish this national title would go anywhere else outside of maybe Arizona, just because I'm biased. But once the national title's over, man, give me the hell out of Frisco. So, I've done everything I think you can do in Frisco. So I have nothing. Maybe you guys want to add something.
No, I mean, there's not really anything else. We've kind of done all the big things. It's just, what else would we do? Here's my bucket list. I want one friggin' national title game that doesn't have a Dakota State in the game.
Gosh, that would actually be fantastic. Ooh, I actually have something. You guys are going to make fun of me for it. We should all go to the zoo next year.
The zoo? We should go to the. We should go to the zoo. Awesome. Is that a movie? Pretty sure it's a movie.
No, I'm talking about the actual zoo. The zoo's awesome.
I'll go to the zoo.
I don't care what any one of you say. Let's get drunk at the zoo.
Next year, we'll make FCS Fans Nation trip just the most off-the-wall, non-football style Frisco trip that has ever been seen, ever.
McDonald's for every meal.
Yep, just like no bars.
Just tacos from Taco Bell. Matt will be in heaven.
Oh,
no, Matt will love it.
So good. The bathrooms would not survive, though. Next year, I know on a bucket list item, we're going to get an Airbnb where everybody gets a queen or a king bed. So nobody's sleeping in race cars like Chris.
I don't think that's a thing.
I've been looking them up. There's a few of them out there. I think we can pull them off. We'll have to see. So, guys, we don't have any versus sports simulator predictions here because we have no more FCS games to predict. But I just kind of wanted to have a fun one here. Before we roll out and give our final goodbyes and thank yous, Super Bowl prediction. Let's go with that. Final Super Bowl prediction to turn this a little bit more into an NFL show. Jamie, you're never going to bet against your team. So I'm going to guess the Bills are going to be playing somebody in this prediction. What do you got?
So for years, Mr. Chris Berman made a prediction of the Super Bowl, and it was the same thing every time. And it was one my brother and I really always wanted to happen because I'm a Bills fan and he's a 49ers fan. Happens this year. The Bills beat the 49ers 34-31. Book it, baby.
Ooh.
You know I'm not betting against them, no matter what I think about Baltimore.
There's something about Bills fans that just remind me of Dallas Cowboy fans. Just pure letdown.
No, we haven't won anything.
I know. That's why I like you guys. I don't like Matt, but the fans are the same. This is our year. We're making it. It's just not going to happen.
Well, Kyle,
Look,
you're saying
the Bills win the Super Bowl, my ass is going through a table most likely. So
let's go. I hope the Bills
win. Let's go.
I think everyone's going to root for the Bills to go.
Damn right.
No one hates the Bills. Everyone loves the Bills.
Except for Dolphin fans, but
yeah, but they're not real fans anyway. Who knows?
They're not real. Kyler, you're not picking the Packers.
Nah, I'm a realist. It is what it is. Our season ends next week. So yeah, 49ers versus probably the Chiefs. It's a cop-out answer, but that's probably what's going to happen. We've seen this play out before. We'll see it again. Yeah.
All right, we'll have to see how it plays out. I'll take I will take the Bills. Let's get an upset for Baltimore. I like Lamar Jackson, but we'll take the Bills out of that one. And then are the Lions winning right now? Probably not.
Yeah, by 4. I think it's 21 or 24-7 maybe.
24-17 now.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Lions and Bills. Let's have some fun. Who knows?
Oh my gosh. That'd be the Sickos Committee Super Bowl of all time.
It'd be so good. Well, the most sicko season of all time may have been 2023 for the FCS, but that does bring us to the finale of the season 7 season finale of the FCS Fans Nation podcast. As it says on the bottom of the YouTube screen, giving a huge shout out to FCS Fans Nation, guys. Facebook page, 24,600 page members. I believe it was at around 15.5 to start the season.
Yeah.
Twitter account, getting 7,500, I think we're about at right there. YouTube, the Fans Network with Jackrabbit Illustrated and all of our pods and Fight on Montana and Eagles Power Hour coming back up with Patrick and the crew. I mean, we're at about 2,100 subscribers there as well. I mean, Apple and Spotify subscriptions went way up. Engagement, numbers, everything went through the roof. So, like, just the fact that this FCS Fans Nation podcast community thing continues to grow is always freaking mind-blowing. Like, it just really is nuts. And myself and Kyler and Jamie and Chris and Lawrence and Wyatt and Kelsey, even though they're not as much involved as they used to be in the past, we're still all message each other on the daily. We're constantly communicating about this thing. We try to keep the page as clean and as enjoyable as possible. Shout out to Brandon Owens and Matt Pesanik for winning both our bracket challenge and our pick'em challenges. Congratulations to you guys. We've got some more exciting things that are going to be rolling out before next season to make this whole experience even better for everybody. So just an incredible shout out to the entire nation of this thing. The most natural, as I will always say, the most natural grassroots growth podcast and page I think that has ever existed. So we get a chance for some final thoughts, guys. A tear going down our cheeks. Jamie, some final thoughts for the 2023 FCS season. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, it was a coronation for the Jackrabbits. So right off the top, congratulations to South Dakota State. Brendan, Chad, Alex, Dallas, all you guys, Matt, just enjoyed time with you guys. Ben, nice hot dog suit. Enjoyed that. Just at being down there at the local and just getting to interact with the Gronowski family and her making Kyler drink something nasty. It's that camaraderie was fun. You know, thank you, Kevin, for hooking up the shirts. Kevin and Stone, great job with Alex Lemonade. Stan, appreciate all you guys do for the FCS. Y'all are the best. Sam Herder, always good to spend time with him. Zach McKinnell, Coach Fred, let's go Alcorn, Timmy Rosario. Great to meet you guys. Of course, the other 5 guys that stayed at the Airbnb, as always, the best time. Love spending time with you guys. Love seeing you every year. Wouldn't change that for the world. I could sit here and go on and on. Really appreciate everybody. Thank you all for listening this year. Thank you for paying attention, whether you love us, hate us, or not. Appreciate it. Love you two boys. Let's go.
Heck yeah. Kyler, Neal, final thoughts on the season.
I'll be nice. Man, it was a fun season outside of my team, who sucks. So hopefully it'll be better next season. But Frisco is always a blast. I only met 3 a-hole fan bases out, or 3 a-hole fans outside of myself in Frisco. There's just 2 Grizz fans who were a little interesting, who did not like me, and then 1 South Dakota State fan that didn't like me either. Other than that, I mean, both fan bases were absolutely fantastic. The tailgates were awesome. So, props up to Grizz fans. You guys were phenomenal. Props up to South Dakota State fans who are welcoming us. And I mean, they're kind of like now our home away from home, especially with the Jackrabbit Illustrated guys. So, I mean, everyone on the page, we really do thank you guys for continuing to listen. I mean, I don't know why you guys do it, but thank you for continuing to listen to 3 knuckleheads up here talk about football. Again, we just do this because we absolutely love it. And, we built a relationship with us 3 guys. And, these are 2 of some of my favorite people I've ever met. So thank you guys for making it a possibility. I love you all. Everyone on the page, have fun. Try not to be too crazy, but continue to have fun. Continue to talk smack to people. Just, don't make it personal, but talk crap about everyone's teams. That's what I do. It's fun. So, I hope it blows up even more next year. I think we got some exciting things that we're going to release maybe this off season. So be on the lookout for that. But again, everyone, thank you guys. You guys are just making 3 stupid idiots get to talk weekly about something that we enjoy, and then we get to hang out every single year. So it's a good time, and thank you guys for that.
Heck yeah. And shout outs to the media members, the Craig Haleys, the Sam Herders, all the others. That's a lot of information that I know I read and others read to maybe make ourselves sound smart. There's hardworking guys in that industry, and the FCS media goats and guys like Jamie Williams who do so much work and effort to put these things together. Shout out to Dustin Helton, the Rev, and Brian Thompson and Chris for joining us in the Airbnb this year. You guys, it was a blast, and we hope we all roll back down there again this season. The FCS poll guys, Zachary, Andrew, Neal, those guys, they again give us such good footage for those final shots of the Frisco things.
Those are cool.
For our recap videos. And they gave me a world-class experience to be able to have a media pass, and like their athletic director allowed me to break FCS news. I mean, who can have experiences like that? And it just really is incredible. And not getting too much in the weeds, I did lose somebody pretty close to me over the last month. And then, there's Kyler and Jamie are just 2 humans that, like, when you text them news like that, or you're just talking to them on the daily, and the rest of our admins, those are people that just pick you up. And I think that's kind of a cool and powerful thing. We're going to talk smack about our teams, and we're going to talk this and talk that, but bigger picture, this whole thing's about community and humans that you really get to know and love. So it's pretty cool. Well, with that, gentlemen, we hope everybody out there, if you're part of this FCS Fans Nation thing, there will be more off-season podcasts. We promise it every year, but there's a lot of things in my life that are cleaned up and done. I'm done with college. The kids are getting a little older, so 2 Margs with Matt is going to be there. We're going to do some fun things. Trust me, it will be happening, and be on the lookout for some of our summer engagement things. May, when we kick off the team series, is probably going to come a lot quicker than we realize. We're excited to have season 8 kicking off next year of the FCS Fans Nation podcast. We ain't going anywhere. So that being said, thank you so much for joining us all season, guys. Love you and appreciate the support. And with that, one final time for 2023, catch you on the next one. Boom.
Thank you for listening to the FCS Fans Nation podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast on your preferred listening platform, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google, or even YouTube. And make sure to follow our FCS Fans Nation social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for listening to the premier podcast for FCS football. Boom.
Jamie, you look pretty good with that cowboy hat.
He does.
Should have brought it with me.
Should have.
Maybe next year.